need someone to explain to me why every horror novel starts with a person who is somehow emotionally repressed, recently divorced, and moving into a house that costs suspiciously little. Like, babe, the walls are bleeding. The realtor literally said, well, there was an incident. Why are you still signing the papers? Protagonists always act like hearing children laughing in an empty hallway at 3 a.m. is just probably the pipes. Pipes? What kind of plumbing system whispers your name in Latin? And why? Oh, why is every horror character allergic to leaving? Because the second a ghost crawls backwards down the stairs like a broken IKEA mannequin, I'm gone! Evaporated. See ya later. You will see a cartoon outline of my body in the driveway. But no, these people stay. They investigate. They split up. Split up? Congratulations! You deserve the haunting. And horror books have us out here emotionally attached to grief stricken final girls, ethically questionable priests, single mothers on the verge of collapse, and one elderly woman who knows exactly what's happening but refuses to explain it clearly. And don't even get me started on the symbolism, because apparently the monster isn't just a monster. No, it's grief. It's capitalism. It's generational trauma. The housing market and your inability to process childhood neglect. Suddenly, I'm crying in the middle of a possession scene. So today, we are diving headfirst into the terrifying, chaotic, emotionally destabilizing fever dream that is horror fiction. We're talking haunted houses, cosmic dread, cursed objects, people making choices so bad they should legally lose decision making privileges. This is going to get unhinged fast, and honestly, that's exactly how we like it. Welcome back to Litdulterous Horror, the podcast where I read the books so you don't have to. But let's be real for a moment. You're absolutely going to anyway, because one book talk edit with eerie violin music already convinced you this book would probably change your life. Today, we're talking about horror, which is basically what if anxiety had a floor pan? And listen, I went in expecting a little spooky ghost story, but maybe some atmospheric dread, a tasteful haunting. But what did I get? I got religious trauma, body horror, an entity wearing somebody else's skin, and an existential crisis so severe I had to stare at my ceiling for 40 minutes afterwards. At one point, I physically put the book down and whispered, absolutely the fuck not. And then immediately picked it back up again because horror readers are not okay. We are curious little gremlins with no survival instincts. So buckle up, lock your doors, and if your hallway suddenly looks longer than usual, to investigate, sit your ass down. We're going feral. Hello, hi, welcome back, you haunted little raccoons. And if you're new here, first of all, what a psychologically damaging episode to start with. Second, welcome. You're one of us now. I am the Litdulterous Whore, the podcast where we overshare, overanalyze, and willingly consume media that makes us afraid to go pee-pee in the middle of the night. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, give me a 5-star review, or I will absolutely curse your TBR with disappointing endings. Don't risk it. And if you want the extra chaos, the unfiltered takes, the books too disturbing for the main feed, and the episodes that probably would concern a licensed therapist, that's right over on my Patreon. All right, turn on a light and let's talk some horror. So, for the three people in the back who somehow sleep peacefully at night, teach me your ways. Horror is fear, atmosphere, Resolved emotional damage. And not like, ooh, this scene startled me. Nope. This is checking dark corners after reading, suddenly becoming aware of every noise in your house, staring at your bedroom doorway like, if something stands there, I'm simply passing away. Horror is incredible because it weaponizes the ordinary. Hallway, terrifying. A child singing, illegal. A basement, absolutely bloody not. Basements are where hope goes to die, and horror authors love taking normal things and making them sinister. I'm talking mirrors, teeth, small towns, family dinners. Nothing is safe. Nothing is off limits. And the best horror doesn't just scare you. It crawls inside your brain and rearranges the furniture because underneath all the blood and ghosts and terrifying little scuttling noises, horror is usually about something deeply human. Grief, addiction, loneliness, guilt, motherhood, the crushing inevitability of death. Woo, fun. It's basically therapy. If your therapist occasionally crab walk across the ceiling. And horror readers love suffering aesthetically. We want some foggy forests, a nice isolated cabin, weird little towns where everyone knows more than they're saying. If an old man says, you shouldn't be here after dark, I'm sat. Because horror thrives on one very simple concept. Something is very wrong. And nobody is communicating effectively about it. Honestly, same as every family reunion, stock horror tropes. Because horror does not believe in subtlety. No, no, no. Horror said, what if we took your worst fear and then made it everybody's problem? The haunted house. Oh, yes. The queen. The blueprint. The Zillow listing from hell. Why is the house always massive, isolated, and somehow affordable? If a 6-bedroom Victorian mansion costs $120,000, I already know someone died in the walls, and horror protagonists always walk in saying things like, wow, it has character. The character is demonic. This house will whisper. It will breathe. It will slam your doors and psychologically profile you better than any licensed therapist. And somehow the family still stays. Because apparently horror protagonists have never heard of a hotel. The final girl. She starts out the story like, I'm so shy and emotionally exhausted. By the end, she's covered in blood, holding a weapon, enough trauma to qualify for several free therapy programs. We love a good final girl because horror says, what if surviving itself became character development? Vibes, baby, vibes. And honestly, it hits. The person who knows everything but explains nothing. Every horror story has one. They have a priest, or a grandmother, or one suspiciously calm gas station employee who absolutely knows exactly what's happening. But instead of saying the demon feeds on grief and enters through mirrors, they'll say something cryptic, nonsensical like, you shouldn't have come here. What? Girl, elaborate. This is not the time for the nurse. Investigating the noise. The most unrealistic trope in horror. Curiosity. Because why are you going towards that goddamn sound? Because why are you going towards the world's most terrifying sound? I hear one wet little scraping noise in my kitchen, and suddenly, that's the ghost's apartment now. But horror protagonists always grab A flashlight. Yeah. And it's always got dead batteries. A baseball bat. Not sure what that's going to do for you against the noise. And zero common sense. And then they'll do this crazy thing where they'll whisper, "Hello? Are you announcing yourself? That's how you get murdered." Horror chaos. The cursed object. If an antique doll looks at me twice, I'm setting the entire estate on fire. The small town. Ooh, everyone is hiding something, including the children, especially the children. Found footage. Congratulations on documenting your own death in 4K. Body horror. Nobody says existential dread like your own flesh betraying you. The open ending. Did they survive? Was it real? Is the evil still out there? Horror authors said, "Figure it out yourself, baby." So why is horror weirdly comforting? Okay, here's the thing nobody talks about enough. Horror is comforting. And yes, I sound insane. I do. I understand that. The horror lets us internalize fear. Now your anxiety becomes a monster, a ghost, a creature in the woods, a thing under your bed. And weirdly, that's so much easier to process because real life fears are vague. Now, horror gives them shape. It says, "Here, your grief is now a haunted house." There's something cathartic about that, about watching people survive impossible things, even when they're messy, even when they're broken, but especially then. Also, horror fans are some of the funniest people alive. It's true. Because once you've watched a woman chainsaw a demon while crying, your sense of humor changes permanent. We are coping through jokes. That's the culture. Horror readers will finish the most psychologically devastating novel imaginable and then go, "Wow, that ruined my life." 5 stars. And honestly, that's beautiful. All right, my haunted little possums, it's time. Because what is an episode on horror without me personally recommending books that would destroy your emotional stability, make you afraid of your own hallway, and fundamentally alter the chemistry of your brain? Exactly. So here are 10 horror books that range from fun, spooky vibes to I need to sit in silence and reevaluate my actual existence. Choose wisely. Or don't. I'm just sitting over here loving all the bad decisions. First book, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Yes, love it. This book said, what if architecture itself was emotionally manipulative? And honestly, iconic! This is the Haunted House novel. The original This House Absolutely Has Beef with Me Personally story. It was the blueprint for all other haunted house novels. It's quiet horror. It's psychological horror. The kind where nothing feels safe and you absolutely slowly start questioning reality alongside those characters. Also, Hill House somehow feels sentient, judgmental, and deeply committed to ruining Eleanor's life specifically. 5 stars. You'll never sleep again. Pet Cemetery by Stephen King. I'm just going to hold the bus right here for a moment. If you don't already know, I have a second podcast called Book Slayers with Betty and Bonnie. I host it with my cousin. Pet Cemetery is going to be our deep dive book dropping at the end of May. So get your little butts over there, give that one a like, give that one a follow, and be prepared for the most epic deep dive we have ever done. This book is not just scary, it's emotionally catastrophic. This is grief horror. The kind that crawls into your chest and latches on. And Stephen King looked directly at the concept of loss and said, what if we made this everyone's worst nightmare? So, your mission was accomplished. Also, the sentence, sometimes dead is better. Chilling! I hated every second of this book. I loved every second of this book. Next, Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Yeah, this book feels like mold, hallucinations, family secrets, and being gaslit in a very, very sexy dress. The vibes, immaculate. You've got a creepy mansion, a horrifying family, weird fungus imagery. I'm not going to lie, it was weird. And enough dread to power a small nation. Also, this book proves that rich people in isolated houses are never okay. Not for 1 second. Not ever. This one is one of my favorites. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Okay, this book is not just a novel. It is an experience. A hostile experience, but an experience nevertheless. This book will change fonts, rotate the text, emotionally attack you, and make you question whether the book itself is haunted. Yeah. The house is bigger on the inside than the outside. And somehow that alone caused me psychological damage. Reading this feels like slowly losing your grip on reality in the most pretentious way possible. And I mean that lovingly. Lovingly. Number 5. Stephen Graham Jones might be one of my latest, newest favorite authors. He wrote The Only Good Indians. This book, devastating. It horror mixed with guilt, identity crisis, culture, and consequences. And, oh my God, the tension is horrible. Because you know something terrible is coming, but you just don't know when. Also, this book contains scenes that made me physically put the thing down and stare into space. And that's how you know it's good horror. It traumatized me artistically. Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is horror for people who love body horror. For people that love feminine rage, surrealism, and feeling emotionally disorientated. Every story feels like a fever dream written during a breakdown. And I mean it in the best possible way. It's unsettling because it understands womanhood a little too well, if you know what I mean. You read it and you're suddenly like, wow, now I'm uncomfortable emotionally and spiritually. Incredible work. That's one heck of a feat. No lies. Oh my God, this book, Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Basterica. I hope I said that right. Listen, I need everyone to understand something very important here. This book is bleak. And I don't just mean bleak, I mean aggressively bleak. The premise alone is horrifying. And somehow it just keeps getting worse. This is dystopian horror that looks directly into humanity's soul and goes, yikes. Look, I finished it and genuinely needed a freaking moment. And by a moment, I mean several business dates. Okay, we are moving into Grady Hendrix. Love this author. And the book was the Southerner Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Now, this book is funny. It's gross. It's stressful. And weirdly emotional. The audio was pure hell. I had to stop. But the book was absolute freaking gold. Imagine this. Suburban mums, patriarchy, book clubs, and one deeply unsettling vampire. Grady Hendrix understands that horror and comedy are spiritually connected. Because sometimes the scariest thing imaginable is being a woman no one listens to. Love that verse. This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. Okay, this book feels like grief while it's having a panic attack. It starts with a smart home. Technology starts acting weird, which honestly is probably already enough for me. But it spirals into cosmic horror and pure emotional devastation. The loneliness in this book is crushing, like genuinely crushing. And somehow the horror works because the grief feels so real. The last, but by no means least, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson really said, what if we made vibes deeply threatening? Terrifying. This book is quiet. It's weird. It's claustrophobic. Absolutely obsessed with isolation and paranormal. And Mercat is one of the strangest narrators ever written in any kind of book. And I would both protect her and fear her. But honestly, okay, that's the energy I want from horror. I want to be confused. I want to be deeply unsettled. I want it to be a little unhinged. All of that together? Perfect. One of the most beautiful things about horror is that there is something for everyone. You want a ghost? Done. We can give you that. You want serial killers? Easy. Give me something harder. Cosmic entities beyond human comprehension? Absolutely. It's all yours, baby. Tiny towns where everyone is suspiciously weird? I'd fit right in. Say less, give more. Horror is such a huge genre because fear is personal. Now, what terrifies one person might not affect somebody else at all. Well, except mold. Mold is universally horrifying. And honestly, best horror books don't just scare you, they linger. You finish them, and all of a sudden, your apartment feels weird. Your reflection takes 1 microsecond too long to move. And every single noise at 2 a.m. has suddenly become a personal attack. That's art, baby. You know what horror loves? Making the monster symbolic. The ghost is never just a ghost, it's grief, addiction, abuse, motherhood, capitalism, religious guilt, unresolved family trauma. Sometimes it's all at once. Horror authors really said, what if we gave you emotional insight? Let's make it terrifying. And suddenly, you're sitting there like, damn, the creature wearing human skin actually represents inherited trauma. Why am I learning about myself through fear? And the scariest horror isn't even the gore, it's the recognition. It's realizing, oh, this story understands something ugly, but very human. And that's what lingers. It's not the jump scares, it's the truth. All right, my spooky little sleep paralysis demons. That's today's episode. I hope you laughed. I hope you screamed. I hope you have developed at least 3 new irrational fears. Is that growth? Questionable. But tell me, what horror book traumatized you recently? What trope gets you every single time? What fictional house are you absolutely never entering under any circumstances? I want to see it in my comments. I want you to message me. I want you to communicate with me through ominous whispers in the hallway. I'll find it. Don't forget to like, follow, share with all your fellow horror goblins. And I want you to do me a favor. You're going to send this episode to someone who says, I don't really like scary books, because this episode's going to fix them. And if you want more chaos, the disturbing recommendations, the cursed media, the episodes that should absolutely not exist, you already know where to find me. Until next time, check your closets, trust no basements, and remember, if the house says your name, move. I hope that you have the reading week you deserve, readers, and I will catch you next week. Take care.